2024. I'm going to be your host tonight. I got a feeling I'm going to be carrying on from last night a little bit. You can call in at 709-589-4406. It's a Canadian number. We take calls from Mexico and US of A. Operation Long Jump, Calm Down Charlie, is in full swing. They got the shit kicked out of me, man. 13 years straight. They think they can break me by one more? Oh, calm down, Charlie. Like, even though he was a nightmare, I kind of miss him, though, because he's been around for 10 years, right? 10 years of being a scumbag. You get used to it. It's just scumbag. Hey, calm down, Charlie. It's hilarious. I like to claim credit for the picture on the right, but unfortunately, I think I inspired it, because that looks like the story we were talking about last night, don't it? Constant bombardment, nuclear is like a banana. It's like a circus, right? We'll zoom in on that stuff. That's insane amount of work done on that one. That was James Lewis who sent me that last night. I was like falling asleep in the chair. I guess just text, and I'm looking at it, and all of a sudden I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow. That's pretty awesome, man. We'll zoom in on that later for a bit of fun. There's a lot going on, folks. I get a big show tonight. Big, huge, massive amount of information. But we can't forget this story. This is such an important story. Fukushima government and the Fukushima Medical University signed a secrecy pact. Signed a secrecy pact with Fukushima Medical University, and has been the main source of the all public data on exposure. So this single university, which is like, when it comes to school of mass destructions, this one kind of takes the cake, doesn't it? I got to put myself a little bit smaller, I think. That's right, too. I see what's going on. Make yourself a bit smaller, just for... Because that way when I point, at least people can see me. I got a tendency to point a lot. I'm a very pointy kind of a guy. These people are absolutely fruit nuts. That's the best way to describe it. But I mean, hats off to James Lewis, man. That picture was insane. It's actually insane what you're talking about right there. And it's perfect, right? That was the show we done last night right there. Just the whole fucking thing. I mean, that's what we're going to do tonight. This is the show we're doing tonight. This is the nuclear industry, right? And the clown suits, the monsters, the pimped out Jed Clampett machine they got, the vehicle they got there. This is 100% the nuclear industry. This is the nuclear industry. One great big stupid circus, and they're the sideshow. The nuclear industry is the sideshow. It's insane. We'll go down that road later. Alrighty, so we got a massive show to get through, so let's try our best, I suppose. That's not what we're trying to do. Some technical difficulties. Bear with me, I'll figure it out. Okay, so here we go. I just want to be able to point, right? Because it's part of my routine now. This is the International Atomic Energy every Sunday morning. This is where they send you fishing. How many years have they done that for? Oh, that's right. They've been doing it non-stop now for 80 years. It's a wonder we got a whale left, actually. So, the Fukushima Medical University is the main source of all public data on exposure. And, oh, by the way, RECA, we're going to cover right away, come up here. RECA now is deep six with the nuclear waste, dictating what medical care many in the region were allowed to receive related to the radiation issues. So, in other words, there's only certain things that could happen to you, or certain things they were going to accept, which is basically nothing. And this one is about the poll. Remember the poll? Should the nuclear academics' parents apologize for their inbreeds being such evil, monstrous degenerates? That's what that picture is for. And there's the parent right there. Should they apologize for those little monsters they're creating? Psychotic demons? Like nuclear waste is the reason we never found a mermaid, right? There was a secret language specified in the Memorandum of Understandings. We're not going to go down that road tonight. You can see last night beginning and the night before. A little tickle in my throat here. I had boiled water in our area for the last couple of days. Guess what I didn't do tonight? This is International Atomic Energy Agency morning routine at Fukushima, right? And this is their Monday morning breakfast. That's actually all the International Atomic Energy at the top of it. They're hanging by their feet from the rafters, right? And this is them getting, everybody get your 1-ton bags? Yep, let's roll. All right, stop fooling around, Dan. I got to get into some serious stuff for a few minutes. What's next for the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act now that it expired? That's hilarious. It's so they never tested these bombs. They sent them down to Nagasaki, Hiroshima. They weren't sure if they were going to explode. Of course they were. It's like get a big raging fire and drop your pants and sit there and expect it to go out when you take a pee. It's the equivalent, right? You're going to be really disappointed in a few seconds. The Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, which is quite a joke in its own, aka RECA, passed the Senate but never came up for a vote in the House in front of Johnson. Well, it did come up, but the controversy was, you know, there was politicians wanted to add certain constituencies that weren't supported for the last. Well, that was written in the early 90s, right? Or 1990, I can't remember. Early 90s or 1990. And a lot of diseases show up right away. Just cancer's the latent one, right? Cancer shows up way down the road, typically, but not in the cases if you're living close by, which are not included, of course, in the act. Which is absurd, the people next to the nuclear explosions and nuclear dumps weren't included, but the people 1,000 miles away were. Woo! The world is crazy. And the blue section to your left, Nevada, that is the only section, the blue, where radioactive fallout is applicable. That's really interesting, because everybody knows the radioactive fallout is not limited. Doesn't respect any borders. Don't worry, I'm just messing around. So, this is 31st of March 2011. That's 20 days after the tsunami. That's 15 days after the last reactor detonated in the first week, because some of them detonated a week later, right? But all the reactors 1, 2, 3, and 4 and the 8 fuel pools had already detonated by this date, let's put it that way, which is 15 days, say 20 days after the tsunami. And this model is looking at serious radioactive fallout. because that's how it works, right? And that was from Fukushima, by the way, that model. What's next for downwinders after RECA? What do you mean downwinders? So which person there is in that plume there is not a downwinder? I don't know, right? Do you know? I don't know. What's next for downwinders? That's just bizarre to say something like that. The RECA Act is ending. And you got all these media, which is the cartoon, right? That James, the media, those people there, not that person. I think that's a lovely person right there. But the media are these people, are the clowns. Am I right or am I right? Just keep it rolling. So how can you only have a tiny section for radioactive fallout? How does that work? Like they detonated so many weapons. In the current configurations, or the current mathematical equations for radioactive fallout that you look at today, you would include the whole country of the United States and Canada and Mexico. Senator Hawley, I apologize for butchering anybody's names, blast Speaker Johnson. What's wrong with these people at the last? Like Boris Johnson turned out to be a monster. Johnson, the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, turns out to be the pro-nuclear. After RECA expires, compensation for St. Louis area victims, radioactive contamination is not likely to happen after a deadline to reauthorize the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act. RECA ends today. That was Monday. RECA expired on the 10th because the House done nothing. I hope Speaker Johnson gets back from Europe. He'd get focused on America and meet with the victims of the entire country. Navajo Nation, of course, they were brutalized by the radiation and the tailing mines and everything else. It was really shocking, actually. It was clearly trying to exterminate the natives. For his nuclear industry, there's not a thing there you can trust. For his failure to call it a RECA vote. Oh, the RECA man. These are the Reaper men. That's what these people are. There's no RECA. They're just Reapers. Originally passed on October the 5th, my birthday. RECA allowed, I think we covered it on my birthday too. RECA allowed for partial restitution. It wasn't October the 5th, 2024, because that's in the future. Allowed for partial, it was last year, partial restitution, partial restitution, percent of a percent, right? 150,000 or something, to individuals who develop serious illnesses. That's what I mean. There was very limited stuff they would cover, and you had to jump through a whole bunch of barrels. Each one got smaller and smaller. Such as cancer due to exposures to radiation. Even if you got no legs because of the radiation, you still had to jump through the barrels. To radiation that occurred as a result of nearly 200 atmospheric nuclear weapon development tests from, like they didn't work. Every one of them worked. 1945 to 1962. That's a nuclear war. It's an insane nuclear war. 1945. There's no checks and balances back then, folks. The test occurred during the country's nuclear weapons development, which involved tens of thousands of workers. Well, if they worked there, they should suck it up. Not really, I suppose. It's saying their children got affected, and their children got affected, and their children were affected. The test occurred during the country's nuclear weapon, weapons development. I got some mixed feelings about that. You know, there was no need to set off all these nuclear weapons. They wouldn't give it up, and they were told to give it up. They wouldn't give it up, so they compromised and said, well, we'll go to the Marshall Islands and wreck that. The most beautiful tropical paradise America had in its water. They went out and just friggin' atomized it, ionized and radiated it. It's over 1 million square kilometers still radioactive, too radioactive to be habitable today. And when you talk about 200 above ground and atmospheric test radar, you got to remember everything vented in the ground. All the holes they dug, everything was vented. Just at high speeds, too, on top of that. Thousands in Navajo, hundreds of thousands. Citizens developed all kinds of illnesses, not just cancer. And that stuff never goes away, so their land is contaminated forever. And they've been denied an education on the topic, so they don't know how to get it out of the way. RECA covers areas. The blue is the only area for radioactive fallout. Fukushima, of course, all the plume models shows the whole planet covered in about 20 days. This was a plume model based on Fukushima's TEPCO, and it's based on a flawed representation of it. Fallout in St. Louis, Missouri, buried in radioactive Neptunium-239, decays later to plutonium-239. Yay! RECA has expired, so what's next? So they're talking about attaching it, and we'll get to that in a second, to another bill. Oh, this was the Xenon 133. In Washington, it was around 450,000 times above detection levels post-Fukushima, and it was sustained for weeks. And that's because you can find it, right? But it's a nasty isotope, and it travels with everything else. The biggest byproduct, by the way, is the curium isotopes. Program to pay nuclear fallout victims expires due to U.S. House's inaction. This was a calculated failure, clearly. On purpose, right? Downwinders. Which way doesn't the wind blow? Does the wind only blow one way? Am I missing something? Because all the models I see, the wind covers the whole planet. There's no Norwegian Institute for Air Research. And this is only based on just a few weeks rather. Program to pay nuclear fallout victims expires due to U.S. House's inaction. Faced with a choice of expanding or at a minimum extending a program to offer compensation to victims of radioactive fallout from nuclear weapons testing during the Cold War, members of the Congress did neither. Despite repeated pleas from the victims, House Speaker Mike Johnson refused to allow the House members to vote on a bipartisan bill. He actually had a watered-down version he was submitting, and then he withdrew it. That would expand and extend the Radiation Compensation Act, RECA, as a result. The program expired on Friday. So what they're going to do is attach it to other bills, the defense bill, which is always passed, and everything in it gets passed. I think that's what they're trying to do, some politicians. It's so the blue is the downwind counties. It's mind-boggling that that's all they're going to cover for radioactive fallout. It's just unbelievable. Are they going to cover all the workers who took the 1 ton or the 45-gallon drums for decades out and threw them in the ocean on the continental shelf, the nursery of the oceans? Are they going to compensate them people? Should they compensate the whales and the birds too? This is France's government model based on 1 million to 10 million atoms of cesium-137. Cesium-137 is a charmer. It pulses energy around 600 feet every second. You got a plume covering the entire planet, the bottom of the ocean to the upper troposphere, pulsing energy almost at the speed of light every second. What could go wrong? The whole nuclear industry's failed society in every facet. There is not a single facet they haven't failed us on. They screwed up everything, and they screwed it up like $1 billion hammers, really, guys? That's 14 prefectures where the food was banned in Japan for a decade by 55 countries that have all, majority of them had fallen. 36 of them have fallen now. Only 14 remain. And that was the right thing to do, was ban the food in the nuclear wasteland. I'll show you why. Columnist, the truth must be told, Fukushima is a major global threat to all living flora and fauna. And the mainstream media is not the best, or Arnie Gunnarsson. I will play a clip of him coming up later. When you see these pictures, what we're trying to do, we created around 2,400 of these pictures. We only have 1,000 of the real 1-ton bag pictures, and there was 150,000 sites like this. And so what I'm doing is slowly going to create total of 149,000 pictures of 1-ton bags stacked up, because that's how many sites they had in 2016. Because how do we understand the bigger picture, right? Well, we have 1,000 pictures, so we can extrapolate now what the other ones should look like. It's a lot of work, and it's a job that got to get done. It ain't a good job. It's a shit job, actually. But I seem to excel at those particular jobs. Leading director in Japan, nuclear power generation is the only invention that may destroy the future of human beings. How many people tried to warn you again? A lot. Tried to tell you, hey, I can't really speak out too loud, but that's what your highways right around the entire, you should have a highway looking like that right around the entire planet. If you took up the top 10 centimeters, Japan picked up 30 million 1-ton bags. So it's equal to five 1-ton trucks wrapped around the planet, 5 rows of traffic. But if you picked up, say, 10% of the habitable land, none of it's habitable, but where they got people tricked into, or people that are complacent tricked into going back, this is what you would end up with wrapped around the entire planet. Like Hanford, Hanford dumped 450 billion gallons, and it doesn't seem like a lot, does it, when you say it? Like, it's a lot, but it's not too bad, Dana. It's actually an aquarium 6 feet wide, 518 feet tall, wrapped around the entire planet more than once. That's insane. And that if you try to kiss the wall or run up to the wall or something, you'll die before you can get to it. Because a single liter, if you walk past it, it'll drop you like a sniper round. You couldn't get close enough to the wall. There's no way to survive, right? That's what they dumped into the soil at Hanford. A 518-foot tall wall, 518-story building. Try wrapping your mind around the statement. If we do nothing, even Tokyo could become off limit. Well, it did. That was categorically true by day 7 or something. The government doesn't tell the truth. We may not be able to live in Japan someday. We may not be able to live in Japan someday. Radiation is going to be flowing over. Did people try to warn you, or did people try to warn you? Were people trying to warn you? Am I just over-exaggerating this stuff? But not many are telling you the whole story, the truth. That's the problem. And we always felt that if we ran an educational program, you would create dissent, right? A proper line of dissent that is unassailable, that can handle any apologist and rip them to pieces, destroy their narrative, make them go home crying to their mommies, actually, right? Who should apologize for having the little demonic little demons anyway. Should the nuclear academic parents apologize for their inbreeds being such evil, monstrous degenerates? I don't know. I'm kind of on a fence. No, you're not. Hang around to the end of the show. You'll come around. You'll come over and join the winning team. Michio Kaku, famous physicist from California. Human civilization may destroy itself. I mean, look at Fukushima. The liquefaction of 3 nuclear reactor cores. It was liquefaction of 2. Reactor 4 and reactor 3 went... They went up in a big bang, right? Like firecrackers. Like 190-foot firecrackers. Nuclear firecrackers. Each of the buildings had 8 reactor cores in the fuel pools at the top of the building. Man, when that thing went off, that was epic. And we have videos of one in reactor 3 going off. Something else. They felt the explosion of reactor 3 25 miles away. And a degenerate AP reporter. The nuclear industry. We're getting to the show. We're not even to the show yet. I apologize for everybody. Nobel Prize winner on NHK. The only way to preserve human life is to completely turn away from nuclear power. Nobody tried to warn you. Even a Nobel Prize winner said, hey, hello. And the nuclear industry is like, shut them down. If you picked up 30% of Fukushima prefecture, you would look like this right around the entire planet at least twice. Severe labor shortage for Fukushima decontamination. Fears over radiation exposure. I got a headline to go with that. 16,000 employees quit. Well, these are not academics or scientists or journalists. These are the homeless and the destitute and the victims of society and the immigrants who don't speak the language. Here we go, I got it. 16,000 workers have quit. And they felt like they were running out of homeless, right? Because that's who's there, the homeless, the destitute, the victims of society, the immigrants. Not nuclear scientists. They had 54 nuke plants in Japan shut down. None of the employees volunteered to go to Fukushima, or you couldn't drag them there, actually. This planet better get his freaking head out of the goat's butt. Only way to preserve human life is completely... We've done that. All of eastern Japan to be evacuated if Fukushima plant was abandoned. Why would you let that on your planet? A single building, you would have to evacuate eastern Japan. It was actually a lot more than that, too. If it's 30 million one-ton bags to be picked up, that's about 1% right there. No, not even close, actually, is it? Major U.S. paper time to quit nuclear power altogether. Threatens the very existence of human civilization as we know it. Nobody tried to warn you. There's the International Atomic Energy Agency. That was yesterday morning. I know the towel boy at the bathhouse there, and he tweeted that down over to me. Japan Times column. As the public possibly worldwide sickens over time. Nobody tried to warn you. Dana's fear-mongering. Nuclear scientists all over the world are in their basement. Mom, come downstairs. Dana's fear-mongering again. Japan Times column is this public possibly worldwide sickens over time. What a fucking statement, eh? Let me try to say that without the gallows laugh. I gotta hurt myself. Oh! Ow! Japan Times column as the public, possibly worldwide, sickens over time. The truth will leak out. That's the only thing that's going to leak from a nuclear accident is the truth. Everything else is an event. That's Raphael Grossi's garage. That's where all the retired nuclear employees go to and apologize for not killing all of us and all the birds and insects. Former official in Fukushima, this is a disaster of all of humanity. The entire world. And it's on an international level. Nobody tried to warn you. See, right? Nobody tried to warn you. There's not many people after carrying the torch is the problem. That's Raphael Grossi, though. That's how he sleeps. That's a special bed they made for him because he can't. Like when he retires, he hangs upside down from a rafter. This is one of my favorite. I love this. This is pretty cool. I made this over 10 years ago. This is the media to your right. They're claiming they're 190 feet in the air above the building to your left. Anybody feeling that? I'm not feeling that, see? I'm having a hard time accepting. Dana, you're just being mean, Dana. It's true. You got me. Now, officially, nothing got out of these buildings. That's pretty cool. Thank goodness. That would be a nightmare if something got out. Imagine if something got out. What kind of shit we would be in. New scientists. This is a media that is insane. And they produce all kinds of studies. This is one of their studies. All kinds of studies that defy the law of reality. Or law of science. Science is not allowed at New Scientists. Japan's radioactive children will be found with thyroid glands emitting 35 millisieverts. Well, what that 35 millisieverts is 35,000 microsieverts. And each microsiever is around 750 atoms. But don't quote me on that. It could be 750,000 atoms. I don't know 100%. But some of the numbers we got, for sure, and we know they played out the living daylights down and everything, quantifies that assertion that it's 750 atoms minimum. And so let's give them like the bad atoms, right? The curium isotopes, the strontium. And cesium is still a bad isotope. It's just they got the whole population literally stupid with the word cesium. So the thyroid glands are so saturated with anthropogenic man-made radiation that they're producing nothing but radioactive hormones. Right? And so the science is not allowed at the New Scientists. This was COPS 28 last year over in Dubai. I'm not kidding you. That's the truth. Honest to God. I was there and took the picture myself. I swear on the head of Raphael Grossi. If I'm wrong, may Raphael Grossi die today. Tokyo newspaper, 6 in 10 Fukushima children tested have diabetes. Do you know anywhere where 6 in 10 children get diabetes? Anybody? Call in at 709-589-4406. Everybody can call in except for Calm Down Charlie. This is normally when he beats puppies this hour of the night, right? It's true, folks. That's what the nuclear industry does when I'm doing the shows. They beat puppies and they yell at the TV screen. That was terrible, isn't it? 6 in 10 Fukushima children tested have diabetes. Fukushima children tested, 6 in 10. So if you got 10 kids and 6 of them have got diabetes, it's normal. And you should thank the nuclear industry because they love you. Otherwise, they wouldn't give your children diabetes, see? I know, it makes sense, right? I'm really good at stuff like that. I'm special. This is the cleaning crew for the International Atomic Energy Agency when they go home. These are the people that goes and cleans up. I'm sorry for slurping off screen. I gotta get it. I'm starting to like this stuff. I'm liking that. Do you not like this? I can change too, right? I can yoink, yoink. I can put me over there. How about that? That's pretty badass, isn't it? How's the poll going? Should nuclear academic parents apologize for their inbreeds being such evil, monstrous degenerates? I know it's a little colorful tonight, but we're almost through. We're almost ready. We haven't got too much further to go. Well, not bad at all. when when you consider who's sitting here on the screen. Radiation health specialists, children over 11 atoms a kilogram start to see heart problems. You can put 200 million atoms on the head of a needle. You can't see it. Man-made atoms. 11 of them will fuck up your child forever. That bother you? If it doesn't bother you, there's a job waiting for you at the nuclear industry. Could even be promotions in there. And so it's mandatory for all pro-nuclear now to worship 1-ton bags of radiation. What do you think of that? Farmers growing food right alongside of millions of 1-ton bags of radiation. Try making that up on your own. I dare you. Double dare you, actually. Senior scientist. Irreversible heart damage for children with 50 atoms a kilogram of cesium-137 and 5 atoms a kilogram of curium, or 10 atoms a kilogram of plutonium. You know why we got no whales? Well, the animals are dying. That's the nuclear industry. Top radiation experts, 50 atoms, and you can go to my site and buy my t-shirts. Save the whale, ban nuclear power. Every shirt you buy, 2 nuclear scientists get waterboarded. Top radiation experts, 50 atoms a kilogram in humans lead to irreversible lesions in the vital organs. Yummy. Do you eat any Chinese lately? Don't worry, they'll ship it over to Thailand, they'll repackage it and call it from Thailand. They'll get you. Almost every nuclear power plant is surrounded by farms. They'll get you. Do you breathe air and drink water? They're going to get you, trust me. They poisoned everything forever. 50 atoms a kilogram in humans, adults, or big animals or something like that, lead to irreversible lesions in the vital organs. Oh, I can't wait to get some irreversible lesions in the vital organs. That's going to be pretty cool. Is RECA going to cover me? Sure, Dana, sure. The British probably dumped enough 45-gallon drums in the ocean over 36 years to make a line like that on the coastline right around the United Kingdom. Oh, hang on. Hang on, James. I left the phone in the other room because that keeps me sometimes.
But
we're live. You're live. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, you triggered a bunch of things I had. Like, I got to call Dana and let him know, like, this is what's going on. Like,
that's hilarious shit. Go ahead.
You know, all people, Craig, you know?
Oh, sure, Craig, yeah.
I thought, like, he kind of disappeared off the face of the earth, but lo and behold, today.
No. You come back?
Like, I guess I responded to I created a comment on Organic Slant, had a video. He did this he did a good documentary on Fukushima. Went for over an hour. It's like a great, you know, overview. You know,
yeah, he's pretty good, man. He's actually really good. Mark is, yeah.
So, I mean, I just wrote a comment on there. I'm like, yeah, I'm waiting for Craig to create a comment to say that Fukushima hasn't harmed the fly. I haven't heard from him in, I don't know, for a year. Today, of all days, he responds to that, and he's like,
he was indignant.
Show me any science. He goes on that whole monologue. Show me any scientists, biologists, blah, blah, blah. Fukushima hurted anything. And I just replied back. I'm like, the scientists are saying that you're due for your booster shot, Greg. That's all I said. I'm not going to mess with him, right? So he's like, well, he comes back with something nonsensical about my God is AI or something. And I'm like, You know what? I respond back. I'm like, you have no idea what's coming, Craig, with AI. You have no idea.
No, he doesn't either. He's a strange one, man. He got a site dedicated to attacking me and Kevin, and
Right.
I got links of over 300 videos where he got into fights on. And like I took screen captures of them, and then I took the link to the video and put it in a separate folder, and I got hundreds and hundreds of comments captured, and my goodness, if he put that much energy into anything, he'd be a billionaire, right? Besides nuclear.
Oh, exactly. And so, but this is the weird thing that happened. So I respond back to that, and I'm like, you have no idea what's coming with AI. And by the way, AI knows that nuclear energy is a total fraud, just like you. And where did you get all that civil defense propaganda behind you in your videos? And who are you connected with? And guess what happened? Comments deleted. Gone.
Oh, wow.
Like I know Organics Plant didn't delete it.
He doesn't. No, he don't delete. He won't. He won't delete nothing. No. So Craig had to do it. Yeah.
So I respond back again. I'm like, you know what? I get what's going on here. Like, he must have some kind of super user access to YouTube. That's how he gets away to defame you. Because he's above the clouds. Like
it is so. I felt that too, James. How else is he able to do what he's doing, right?
Yeah, how else is it? So I'm like, I can't completely recall what I.
Yeah, sure. No worries. Yeah.
Like, you told your viewers that, because he said something about God. I'm like, well, if there is a God, he knows how dishonest you've been, because you told your viewers that the so-called treated water is safe to drink. The cores are missing, Craig. They're out of containment. How do you get that through your goofy-ass Gatorade brain? I don't know what I said. So I'm like,
yeah, no, it's fun.
It's
very frustrating.
Mindless, sick to Bill Gates and Grossi, giving it. You're just a sex slave to them, basically. That's all you are.
Yeah, like his whole story, it's really interesting. But he found a niche in the nuclear industry, and I don't know how it happened, but he found a niche, and he excels at it. He excels at being a scumbag. He's one of the... We see this everywhere, right? But he's exceptional, isn't he? Like the energy...
Oh, right. And so that, and again... But I write that comment. Guess what happened to that? It disappeared.
Wow.
Into the ether. And I'm like, it's one thing because he has no way to engage with your audience. People that watch your show, if it wasn't for you, we would have no. I mean, you and Kevin have helped so many people out there. I hope that.
Oh, guaranteed.
I hope Craig, because he doesn't have the balls to get into the chat room here. We'd all tear him up alive.
When he gets in, if he does get in there, he's slime, right? He's just copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste.
Right.
And that's what we see with the entire industry is no integrity. And they're the ones that are accelerating everywhere. They're the ones that are getting... Craig was basically... I think he was abused heavily as a child. I don't mean to be funny, right? But I do believe he was abused heavily as a child. His mom married another guy who was one of those people that are expecting the worst, and so they live off grid and they buy all kinds of survival food and they buy all kinds of survival equipment, and that's where he was raised up from the time he was like 10 years old or something. And so he got out of there, and that was his mentality, right? That was his niche. And somehow or another, he got in the military.
He must have felt prey along the way because, again, he's got these videos with these civil defense boxes stacked up all the way up the wall that are, like, ready, that MREs back. I mean, it's like no one would have an abundance of that unless they're connected with someone that has that stuff.
It's a military and nuke plants too, right? Nuke plants will keep a lot of that stuff on site.
Someone up under their wing. I don't know what else to think because the guy is just the most awkward person in the
He had
world.
pallets of old Geiger counters that he was pawning off years ago, right? pallets of them, big pallets, like 500 on a pallet or something. So he spends a lot of time at these military auctions, is what we're seeing, which means there's something else going on there. He's very prolific at nuclear plants. Originally, he was putting out a lot of videos visiting. Why would he be visiting a nuclear plant, say? And
Right.
but then he lives in a van. He admitted it freely, right? And he goes around doing all these gun shows where he sells survival equipment.
And he doesn't have a social security number, like he told you that.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And I got screen captures of that, too, yeah.
Be a gun dealer and not have a... I mean, what kind of craziness is that?
I was thinking maybe he had sold his site like James Colbert had done, sold it to TEPCO or Tokyo or something, right? Who had the Fukushima updates. He sold it to the Fukushima prefecture. He used to have all the apologies to James Colbert, right? But I was thinking Craig was done the same thing, right? But then, didn't you see comments where you say, no, that's Craig. That is Craig.
Well, he's got super user access. So YouTube has allowed this guy to go around and just be like, instead of
spam, just
chat, because people are going to read the chat and they're going to learn shit from James Lucid because he listens to Dana. We'll just delete the comment, all right?
Yeah.
Just delete it.
Anything that makes sense is not allowed into the comment section. That's him doing it. He's got the access. I agree with you. I agree.
So they're scared. They're like, well, we can't debate these people, so we'll just delete their comments. I mean, that's where we'll censor Dana, so he just has 24 viewers at once, no more than that.
Yeah, it's
and that way we'll limit the conversation, and then we can protect our investments, and we can go to the carnival.
Yeah,
at the
that's such a great picture, man. That summed it up for me last night. Like when I seen that picture last night, and I said James gets it. Because that's what I was talking about last night, right? That was this madness. This is madness, and they dress in a suit, but they should be dressed in a clown suit. Then the world might get what's going on, right? But they're dressed in a suit. They come from a university, blah blah blah, and there's no reality in anything they're saying, and they just generation after generation after generation doing it to us. No, that's what I took away from it last night when I seen it. I was like, oh my God.
Well, I just want to leave out. I just want to leave with the fact that a white buffalo calf was spotted in Wyoming, where Bill Gates is going to build a nuclear reactor, and the whole story of the Native American legend. I'm sure you're familiar with everything.
The white buffalo.
The white buffalo is a sign of, like, holy shit, something's about to happen.
Yeah. Wow.
This is happening right now, and so there's a lot of craziness happening right now, and I just I had to call and get this off my chest.
Great stuff, James. No, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you sent that picture last night.
All right.
That boosted me too. Okay, my friend. Thank you, James. Love you, buddy. You take care.
All right.
Yeah. Bye. That's James Lucid, folks, from him in the chat room. Over many, many, many years and everything else. And like he's talking about Craig on YouTube, who's got a site dedicated to attacking me and Kevin Blanche, debunking us, right? He's never debunked us a single time. He just regurgitates on almost every video about Fukushima. He'll get in and fight with everybody too. Like, say if a video got 100,000 views and 2,000 comments, and anybody in there says nuclear's bad, Craig will show up and pick a fight with him. And he might be fighting with 50 people. And he'll sit there all day and fight with 50 people. I'm not kidding you. And so, like, if you try to sit there all day and fight with 50 people, the spam machine is going to pick you up and just get rid of you on that video. Not Craig. Craig got incredible privileges, and I have no doubts he can delete people's comments too. Let's go back because we're still not at the show. The show is just 4 clicks away, so we're almost there. This doesn't happen all the time, but it's not unusual to take an hour to get to the show. We're almost there. Don't lose faith in me yet. I'm almost there. We're right there. Hang on. Gotta get my shit together here. All right, here we go. So 358,000 out of 1 million have thyroid tumors of 2 centimeters, around 2 centimeters. Now, a child's thyroid is around 2 by 3 centimeters at best. An adult is around 3 by 5 centimeters. And so a child is less than half the size of an adult. So their thyroid is going to be a bit smaller. What that means, though, is a tumor. They can call it what they want, but ultimately it's a tumor, what they're talking about. And your white blood cells are building a sarcophagus around the radiation in your tumor, in your thyroid, and it's saturated with radiation. In order for that to happen, it's producing so much white blood cells, it builds a tumor right away. And this is 2012. This is a year later. This is insane. And so 35.8%, but before Fukushima, it was 1 in a million.
But there's clear evidence rates have risen. Before the disaster in 2011, the rate of thyroid cancer was between 1 and 2 cases in every million children.
So 1 to 2 in every million, and now it's 358,000 out of 1 million. It's 13,646 out of 38,000 post-Fukushima. And they got all kinds of tricks to get rid of that, the numbers. Oh, well, they'll come up with a million excuses. But there is no excuse, because it used to be 1 to 2 per million. And so within 1 year, you got 358,000 out of 1 million. You got 13,646 when it's out of 38,000 when it should be 1 in a million. You can deny science all you want, but that's all you're doing, right? This is Helen Caldicott. Now, Helen Caldicott is going to be asked, does the building look like this or does it look like that over there? Because they're both official pictures on top of that, but that's what the building actually looks like. And so I put the pictures left and the other pictures, the original videos, the box at the top of the screen. I just want you to hear her reply. Now, she's done this in hundreds of interviews. It's completely dishonest.
Let me ask you this. You've said that if the spent fuel pool in number 4 collapses, that you would evacuate your family from Boston. Think we would ever know the truth of what's going on there? And the reason I ask is because we've seen coverage in the national news media here in the United States from ABC News and others that take video cameras in, saying that they're being given exclusive access to number 4 in the removal of the fuel rods, which is said to have begun. And what we see in the video being shared here in America is a pristine interior building. It doesn't look like a building in which the top blew off in a hydrogen explosion.
The Japanese are very tidy people, and they have, by robot control and by human beings, removed the debris from the top of Building 4, and it does look pristine.
Does anybody know what the freak she's talking about by human, by robot? There is no boy robots. The boy robot is a human. Now, Arnie Gunnarsson was asked also. Now, Helen knows the building is not tidy. You can't make a nuclear meltdown tidy, you insane. Now, she wrote 14 anti-nuclear books. 14 anti-nuclear books. So she knows the difference, okay? Here's Arnie Gunnarsson.
Unit 4 was damaged twice. It was damaged by all of the earthquakes that occurred, and it was also damaged by a series of explosions over the first week or two of the accident. So the building is structurally weakened. Now, Tokyo Electric's acknowledged that. They went in May and June of last year. This is more than a year ago, and put an enormous number of extra structural supports directly under the fuel pool to keep the bottom of the pool from breaking through.
This is insane. To suggest that they went in to the building and put structural supports under the fuel pool at a nuclear meltdown. Like, even if reactor 4 didn't detonate and melt down, which of course it did, it's a nuclear. Let me show it to you. The whole story is insane. Bear with me. So the fuel pool is those up the top of the building there. These are 190-foot buildings. That's the remainder of the building over there. The building that contraption there, they're not going to pretend they're above the fuel pool. But just pretending you're above the fuel pool doesn't mean you're above the fuel pool. So there's two fuel pools, one up there and one over there, and this is the reactor core. It's also at the top of the building. There is no building, let alone top to the building. You couldn't go in there and put structural supports under something that doesn't exist. Now, Arnie Gunnarsson made the assemblies, or the racks for the assemblies, for 70 reactor, identical colors and everything, reactors that the Americans have. So if he doesn't know the fuel pool's gone, who does? So you're left with an interesting conclusion. You got Helen Caldicott saying Japanese are very tidy people. You got Arnie Gunnarsson saying they're putting fuel under, supports under a pool that doesn't exist. And they're the people that are being fed. YouTube and everybody else is feeding anybody looking up. They're not going to give them Dana. You might get them. You might create another Dana if he does that. Thai food shows. Okay, we're into the news. What do I got down here? Let me fix that. Sometimes when you're doing... There we go. We're ready. Are you ready? Ready. Steady. Let me change this actually. Wait now. Hey, wait for it. I clicked on the wrong one apparently. I got some interesting scenes there you haven't seen, you know. Let me see if I can bring up. I can't. Where did I go? Okay, let me try one more. Right, so you got all of these. I have a whole bunch. There's about 30 of these. Thai food shows highlight plant as based products. I can just move myself, say over there or wherever, over here. It's weird, eh? Let's get back to the original one because I'm getting off the track where I'm supposed to be. Just bear with me. I'll do you right, man. I'll fix this and we'll get on with the show. How about that? Does that sound cool or what? All right, here we go. Life is good. I gotta fix a few little discretions here. We'll get there. Yeah, let's do this. I'm feeling it. Here we go. Thai food shows highlights plant-based products. Many companies are hungry for promoting plant-based alternative to meat and seafood. For instance, tuna prepared from beans and beef jerkies from mushrooms. Substitute and plant for meat, right? That's what they're talking about. Or fish. Japanese fishery companies are also exhibiting at the trade show. Well, that's what the story is about. You get the Japanese have wiggled their way in. I mean, it's a nuclear wasteland. At what point do we act like it's a nuclear wasteland? They're promoting the safety of their seafood. They're promoting, 13 years later, the safety of their radioactive seafood like scallops and oysters, which are caught from Hokkaido Island, which is the most northerly point of the prefecture, or the country. And it's far, far, far away from Fukushima. And so it's just meant to subtly brainwash people by manipulating them. This comes from amid China's suspensions of imports to Japan. So China, Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan are working together to manipulate the Asians. And there's multi-billion of them, right? So they're working together with the International Atomic Energy Agency to undermine knowledge in the Asian communities. The majority of Asians don't have a clue. They're completely complacent in the truth and any kind of facts whatsoever. And so China, and what they're doing is, so last year on August 24, TEPCO come out and said they're going to release treated water, right? But and the only things there is tritiums, right? And so all of a sudden you had protests in China, you had protests in South Korea, you had protests in Taiwan and Japan, and this was stuff they were pumping out in the media worldwide, and every media, even Western media, was pumping that out. And the idea was to get everybody protesting tritium and protesting the release. That started on August the 24th, 2023. But the reality of it was everything had lost the containments in about 6 days. The entire inventories of all the reactors and fuel pools were gone. 4 and 8 fuel pools were gone. That's reactor 3 detonating, and the plume, that's 26 days later or something, covering the entire planet. And in green at no less. Bless their hearts. The operator of Japan's wrecked Fukushima nuke plant took the first step on Monday in being a long hazardous process to decommission the facility, extracting, this is 2013, 4 fuel rods from the containers for the later removal. 4 fuel rods. And the Talgo Electric Power Company, known as TEPCO, said it was transferring the rods to a steel cast. These usually weigh around 50 tons. Within the same cooling pool in a badly damaged reactor building. Badly damaged reactor building. You're talking about reactor 4. And so when they were doing it, they had a cover over, and this is what it looked like to your left. And they had put this, right, this is all 4 sides of it. They had stripped it down. And the media was even pretending they're at the top of the building. The whole story is insane. Unstable reactor number 4. The only thing's unstable is friggin' media. And journalists worldwide and academics who should all apologize. They should all apologize. Should the nuclear academic parents apologize for their inbreeds being such evil, monstrous degenerates? I think we all know the answer. So look at these numbers. These are the most frightening numbers conceivable. Radioactive xenon-133 in Washington, this was the whole continent, it wasn't just Washington, at 450,000 times above detection levels, because we have the plume models, and they clearly show the entire planet. But specifically, North America was brutalized within a few days. And these plumes, and which is interesting too, because how do you measure the 450,000 times detection levels of xenon-133 when the Curie and plutonium signals are so much more stronger? Probably would have drowned out these signals. Because they work on the detection works on a single. And the strong ones can displace the single of weaker ones. And like xenon is nasty. It's just nasty. It's a brutal dose. And it's a short lifespan, but it's brutal. And at these numbers, you're breathing it, you're drinking it, you're eating it, you can't touch anything that's not coated with it. And it happens in increments over years, the effects. A lot of it's happening right away, but it's not perceivable because you can't smell it or see it or hear it or feel it or taste it or touch it or pick it up. Doesn't mean unstable reactor 4. So here's the media claiming that this is just some of them I put together for you. They're claiming they're in the the top of the building to your left, which is 1/4 of the building. What you're looking to the left is 1/4 of the building. And so there really isn't anything left in that building. The guts are hanging up. It's a nuclear meltdown. If you walk past it, it's a lethal dose right away. If you run past it with all equipment on, it's a lethal dose right away. If you had a 6-foot lead suit on, 6-foot thick lead suit on, and ran past it, which of course you can't with a 6-foot lead suit, Dana. Well, if you could, I'm just saying if you could, you're a dead man, okay? All right? Beginning a delicate, unprecedented task of removing 400 tons of highly irradiated spent fuel from that reactor. Here's Ernie Gunnarsson, again, back with another scumbag of the scumbag. Ernie's one of the better scumbags. Like, at least he's a true degenerate, right?
Now, the division I ran built nuclear fuel racks for boiling water reactors exactly like Fukushima.
Let me play that again, it's fun.
Now, the division I ran built nuclear fuel racks for boiling water reactors exactly like Fukushima.
So he built the fuel racks for the assemblies, for the fuel pools, which I highlighted behind them. They're at the top of the building that are missing for sure, for exactly like that. Let me do that last part one more time.
Nuclear fuel racks for boiling water reactors exactly like Fukushima. And
Unit 4 has always been my biggest concern.
Oh yeah, biggest concern.
If you watched our website, on the very first week of the accident,
look at all the books beyond him. Then he does the lizard. Watch that. That's a lizard.
week of the accident, I was saying that if Unit 4
Watch that
were to
again.
catch on the very first week of the accident, I was saying that if Unit 4
Wait.
I was saying that if Unit
That's a
4
friggin'
were to
lizard.
catch fire, website on the very first week of the accident,
That's a lizard.
I was saying that if Unit 4 were to catch fire, you'd have to evacuate Tokyo.
Does that look like it caught fire to anybody? Am I missing something? Should I get a dictionary and look up the term fire? Am I just like over exaggerating that? I think it looks pretty bad. I don't know about you, but I think it looks pretty bad to you, right? I think that's pretty bad looking. So if he made the assembly, racks 40 assemblies for fuel pools exactly like Fukushima, which is 70 of them because he talks about it in that actual interview, then he knows it doesn't look like the picture beyond him. He knows it looks like the one right here. So he knows the fuel pool's gone. So why has he spent 13 years telling you it's not? Anybody want to guess that answer? Don't bother. I don't think anybody needs a reply. Well, battling leaks. Do you think that's a leak? Does that look like a leak? Or does it look like it's already all gone? Potato. Well, battling leaks. Every time I hear that, I want to kick somebody in the nuts. A radiation contaminated water around the plant. Does anybody really think the guys, the journalists to the right, are 4 times the height of the building to your left in an invisible building? The company must carefully pluck. Look up the word pluck. That's not exactly what they're doing. More than 1,500 brittle and potentially damaged assemblies from the unstable reactor 4 fuel pool. No, I don't see anything unstable but the building to your left. It looks pretty stable to me. Everything is gone. There's no worry anymore. Like, seeing it is one thing, right? But hearing it has its own rewards.
Where I'm standing is on top of what used to be reactor building number 4. The whole of this building was blown apart by a huge explosion.
We are here inside Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during the earthquake and tsunami of 2011.
Of the decommissioning work taking place here in Reactor 4. At the end of our tour, we were checked for radiation exposure. In 4 hours, I received the equivalent of less than a chest x-ray.
1,500 highly radioactive fuel rods inside this pool. They've got to move them outside of this reactor.
So who are you going to believe? You're going to believe a crazy guy like me? And you're going to believe journalists backed up by major medias and academics and sound guys, and they got it all, man. They got whatever they need. They'll go shoot that in an American reactor at the top of the building 100 times if they got to get it right. But you can't shoot it at Fukushima because the building doesn't exist, even though that's what they're claiming they're at. And that's not illegal, though. It's not illegal to be a piece of shit. The company must carefully pluck. You don't pluck this stuff, okay? This is if they touch each other, they detonate. The cast hold 22 rods, and transferring the first batch will take about 2 days. And it'll take about a week to get the cast to the common storage pool in another building. The common storage pool is right behind reactor 4. The tsunami ran right through it. Like, right through it. Let's watch reactor. I'll put it on the better screen for you. It's reactor 1 to the left and reactor 3 to the right. Both of them right alongside of reactor 4. Which doesn't exist, of course. Watch these explosions. Because that's what they are. They're explosions, right? These are not hydrogen explosions. There's nothing left. But to your right, you see the big chunks. You'll see them right now in a second. Now this is slow motion, but you see these big chunks falling back down. You know what that is? See that? That's the fuel pools in the reactor cores falling back down. Let me do that again. That's the fuel pool and the reactor cores falling down of reactor 3, and reactor 1 detonated the fuel pool. Moving them is urgent because they're stored at 59 feet above the ground level. 60 feet. They're not stored 60 feet. They're stored at the top of the buildings. I wish they wouldn't lie so much because it creates so much friggin' work. It's not fair. It's just not fair. Let's try something else. Oh, I got that folder. Wait, hang on there. See, the problem is I got so much. Let me go Zen for a second here. I'll get it. I'm looking for the Bloomberg's file. The Bloomberg's file, I stole a bunch of these clips. Okay, I got it. Well, we got Lake Barrett there. I'm not going to play that because you know that's going to take forever if it plays that. Here we go. Kelly said, I'm sorry to put my headphones on. Act like a big shot here. Hang on. Big shot blogger now with headphones. Can't talk to me now.
Well, the comparison that can be made is this is nothing like Chernobyl. It's a serious event. It offers some risk. It's worse than 3 Mile Island, but it's not 1,000th as bad as Chernobyl. Chernobyl was a reactor that was running. It was run up to full power and beyond, and it exploded while it was running.
Well, that wasn't the clip we wanted, but bear with me. Chernobyl was a new reactor, was a graphite reactor. Reactor 3, you can see over there, and I showed you explosion a few minutes ago, exploded. The whole building's gone. It's actually gone. Like in Chernobyl, which is horrible, by the way. This was a graphite reactor. Fukushima's are pure uranium, pure plutonium reactors. And at the top of the buildings was 8 fuel pools. Chernobyl was a new building, didn't have any fuel pools. Let me get another clip in there. I screwed that one up. There we go. The fuel pools are at the top of the building, by the way. I can show you the diagrams, right? But there we go.
Let's get more details on Japan's nuclear crisis. We're joined by Brendan Kennedy, Professor of Chemistry at the University of Sydney. Dr. Kennedy, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
The greatest threat to public health seems to be the spent fuel in pools of water atop the plant's 6 reactors.
I think one of the things we need to keep remembering.
The buildings are 190 feet tall, so 60 feet is 1/3 the way up the building, right? So when they tell you they're stored 59 feet above the ground, that's 1/3 of the building. The reactors are actually at the very top of the building, as you can see yourself. And for those people you've seen standing above the fuel pool, like there, you had to be at the very top part of the building. And we know the buildings blew up, right? And we know not just because we got the evidence of the explosions, we know it because we got the relevant pictures, right? And so that's pretty despicable to suggest that they're only 60 feet up. In a building that is buckled and tilted and could collapse if another quake struck. Now this is 2013, the story. It's the only one that's 2013, but removing the rods have been likened to taking cigarettes out of a crush pack of cigarettes. That was Ernie Gunnison going around telling everybody, all the interviews on TV. It's like a crushed pack of cigarettes, and if the rods touch each other, boom, it's all over. And bam, there's nothing left on it, just a big hole in the ground. And so the reactor 3, now there's 4 reactors with that particular attributes, which are 100% meltdowns. But reactor 3, or reactor 4 right there, and you've seen reactor 3, and you've even seen reactor 3 and 4. The buildings are gone, so that's, each building was 8 fuel pools, 8 reactor cores in the fuel pools, and had a reactor 3 had a running reactor. Reactor 4 reactor was 2/3 loaded, but it wasn't running. But this stuff has already gone through a chain reaction, so it cooked off. You can see there's nothing left. When that cooked off, it was spectacular. I lost the entire inventories. Now, as of August the 24th last year, 2023, they moved the goalposts and said none of this happened. But we got all the pictures, all the evidence, all the headlines, all the stories for 12 years, and then the International Atomic Energy Agency comes out and says it never happened. The buildings are not buckled and tilted and could collapse. The buildings are destroyed and don't have anything left whatsoever. Removing the rods was like taking cigarettes out of a crush pack. Ernie Gunnison. Because Ernie was doing that on television everywhere. Is it just me, or was Ernie? Ernie wasn't repeating somebody else's news story. That was Ernie Gunnison. If the rods are exposed to air or they break, huge amounts of radioactive gases could be released into the atmosphere. Not could be released, will be released. If the rods are exposed to air, the zirconium cladding catches fire, burns at 1800 degrees. It ignites the uranium plutonium pellets inside the fuel rod. They burn at 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures. And it's it doesn't need oxygen, right? So you can do it under the ocean or deep in the earth. But the problem is it'll cannibalize at those temperatures everything. And it atomizes and aerosols these into particulates, and they're very ionized and radiated. So like you're adding to the inventory on a level that nuclear weapons don't do. You're perpetually producing a toxin that is catastrophic to everything with replicating cells. Forever, long past the human experience. On top of that, this stuff will never go away. So it was never supposed to exist. introducing it into the biosphere. If you go to find a planet with 8 million species on it, like Earth, and you build a nuclear plant there, eventually they'll be exterminated just from the fuel emissions, because they're always splitting atoms. The reason nuclear waste is dangerous, the real reason, is because it's still splitting atoms, and those atoms have to go somewhere. And that's why almost every nuclear site and nuclear dump is surrounded by farms. These are just the most self-centered morons imaginable, the nuclear industry. They really are. They're morons on a scale that we can't compare to anything else on top of that. There are 50 to 70 in each of the assemblies. There's actually 100 12-foot rods that are 18 pounds each in each assembly, which weigh 660 pounds. It actually weighs 1,800 pounds. And are 4.5 meters. The buildings are not 60, the fuel pools are not 60 feet up. They're at the top of 190-foot buildings, 3 times the height. They're not 660 pounds, they're 3 times that, they're 1,800 pounds. And they're 12 feet long, not 15 feet long. I'm just saying, right? If we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it. Let's at least be honest. Operators at the Japs Fukushima disease factory start hazardous year-long fuel removal November 13. Fukushima begins, now that was reactor 4. Let's cover reactor 3 because yin and yang, right? You know, that's how it works around here. Fukushima nuclear debris removal to begin as early as August. That was recent, wasn't it? I can't remember now. We cover so many stories, I don't even know what day of the week it is sometimes. Even though it's at the top of almost most every story. Melted fuel from Fukushima Reactor 3 is the highly lethal mixed uranium-plutonium oxide fuel. It's a plutonium mixed oxide fuel. Unit to be last to attempt to fuel removal, says the new plan, 2013. And then they said, well, let's just get rid of it. Let's pretend we got it all out, because the building doesn't exist. Reactor 3, man, holy shit stuff. Right, that's reactor 3. It's less than 1/4 of the building left. It's less, right? Reactor cores are at the top of the building. That's the explosion. That's a pretty one, isn't it? They got video too, because they got video of Unit 1, they got video of Reactor 3, they're both alongside of Reactor 4. But they haven't got no video of Reactor 4. That's the first ones they allegedly got all the fuel. Unit 2, completely liquefied. That's holy shit stuff. That's gone China syndrome, right? Deep into the earth. And it doesn't need oxygen to keep producing. That's the horror of this story, really. 100% liquefaction of a uranium core. We've never seen that in the history of nuclear power. But you can extrapolate on your own with the basic foundation, can't you? Everything it touches, it consumes at 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperature. It atomizes an aerosol, ionizes and radiates it, and releases it at 9,000 degrees. So your incinerator at 3,000 degree Fahrenheit temperature sends up a pretty big plume, right? Imagine what 9,000 Fahrenheit, 3 times that temperature does. Forever. Everything it touches, it turns into stone. It's really a Medusa, right? Fukushima Unit 1 and 2 exhaust stacks, which are away from the reactors, are lethal doses at 10 sieverts an hour. That's a lethal dose. That's a shotgun blast to the side of your head. That's what that thing is. You're walking along, not paying attention, and boop, you're dead. Not only that, like, if you run past it and you survive, well, your organs are still melting. In Hiroshima and Nagasaki, a lot of the radiation victims outside the original blast zone, this is pretty bizarre, but this is the facts, were found squat down and dropped their pants and excreted their organs because they were melting. And they just died right in that position, some of them. Fukushima radiation will poison food for decades, the study shows. Well, it'll poison it for a lot longer than that. Forever. This is going to wipe out everything. Fukushima nuclear debris removal begins as early as August. The crucial work at the devastated plant has been delayed for 3 years. That's reactor 3 cover. And underneath it looks like that right there. I can't tell the difference. Can you tell the difference? I can't. I don't know. Is it just me or can you tell the difference? They look exactly the same. It's insane. Look at it. I can't tell the difference. That's incredible. How did they do that? The wonders of science. Trial removal of melted. This is a recent story, right? I remember this story now. We made fun of this last week, actually, quite a bit. Fuel rods, and one good thing about when we're covering a story over and over and over, it gets funnier and funnier. Will begin as early as August. Wow. That's so reassuring. Removal of the fuel rods, which is now 3 years beyond schedule, is slated to start by October. Wouldn't that be something if it starts on my birthday? I can say to everybody, man, they started on my birthday. Wow. We will continue to proceed with the work carefully, said the crazies, with safety as our top priority, so as not to impact the surrounding environment. How does he even look in a mirror? The radioactive debris consists of fuel and other material that melted and cooled and solidified. An estimated 880 tons of debris are in the reactors unit 1 to 3. Right, nothing in reactor 3. How about that? Let's at least let's admit that. Let's grow up and acknowledge that much. There's nothing in reactor 3. You can see it over there. The reactor core is at the top. The fuel pools are at the top. There's no top. That was right after the big kapooey. They felt the explosion. An AP journalist / monster felt the massive explosion at number 3 plant, which is the Medusa, from 25 miles away. And you can see the fuel pools in the reactor cores dropping back down to Earth. There's not a scientist on the planet. They looked at that and went, "We're okay. It's not as bad as it looks," except for the ones that were on TV, of course. But yet nobody has ever come out and acknowledged that the fuel pool was. Well, that's a lie, though. We do got headlines where they acknowledge that the fuel pool and the reactor cores were ejected out of the building of reactor 3. We actually got those headlines. If I wasn't so friggin' lazy, I would have them there for us, wouldn't I? How does that tell you? Dan's been at it so long, he's finally getting complacent. Too lazy to do his friggin' job. Okay, I'll do my job. I'm sorry, okay? He's got past me today. Hang on. I can do this. I'm a big boy. I can find this. Where is reactor 3? Oh, we're there now, baby. What am I looking for? The reactor 3 was ejected out of the building, Dana. Get after it. My God, I might never find that. Oh, I know. Let's see if I can find it, though. It's a challenge. You challenged me. I accept the challenge. I was doing okay, but you challenged me, so now I got no choice but to go find it. Okay, maybe I won't find it this day. Did I get one more kick at the can? Did I get a chance to redeem myself? No. The problem is I got too much. So technically that's the problem. Otherwise I would get it for you. My God, I didn't know I had all of that. That's terrible. Now I gotta go read all that. It's like a bottomless pit of documentation I got. Let's just keep going. And obviously there's nothing left, okay? You don't need no story to look at a picture and say it's not there, do you? If you do it, I'll find it. Just put it in the comment section. I'll do it. Okay, so they took this, they took that, stripped it down, ended up with this. It looks like that because, you know, that happened. So they ejected the fuel pool and the reactor cores right out of the building. So that's, you can't tell people that. That's crazy talk. So what they done was they built this contraption around. It doesn't physically touch it. They built it off-site and then they assembled it, rather, right there. The building doesn't exist. You can see it's just the bottom stump of the building. Right? This is what it actually looks like. But they built this contraption around it. And then the rest of the contraption, anytime you're ready, their system. So then they put this whole contraption together and said it looks like that. Oh, everything's good. But that's what's underneath all of this. Is that confusing? Because nobody else on the planet seems to get it. Right? They built this off-site and then assembled it. Big chunks of it, right? And then they say, okay, we're here. We got all the fuel in the pool. You have a nice day. But that's where there's the fuel pool right there. Look, covering the entire planet after about 20 days. And so everybody is entitled to get sick and die because of Fukushima. So shouldn't we at least carry out revenge against the nuclear industry? Shouldn't we do? Shouldn't we respond kindly? As the melted fuel is highly radioactive, people cannot come near it. Oh, well. Well, you got all the pictures of people pretending they're there. And removal must be done in small amounts to prevent leakage during the process. A device similar to a fishing rod. We calculated how long it would take this machine to do it. Like 900 years or something, was it? Because will be used to carry out the work. On Tuesday, a video was released showing the device being tested. Now, this is a robotic arm. Just millions and tens of millions of dollars and years of delays. And they had to come up with technology. It was just so stressful on the scientists. You know, a lot of them couldn't go to work. They just sat at home by the swimming pool drinking margaritas all day. They were just stressed out, right? They couldn't figure out how to make it work. So they built a device like a fishing rod. Took years and years, millions and millions of dollars. And the minute that thing goes near the fuel, you can never get near it again because it's a lethal dose, right? According to TEPCO, a 3 to 4 meter cable with mechanical claw will be hung from the device towards the bottom of the reactor. My God, thank God we got nuclear scientists. Less than 3 grams can be collected at a time. Well, that solves that problem. In less than 1,000 years, they'll freaking get it all out. That's pretty damn good. I'm going to pray for them. That's what I'll do. So less than 3 grams can be collected at a time. It's the equivalent of coming up and spit in your face, and the cops are there and they laugh. That's what they do to you every day, see? So 880 tons was going to take around 999 years. Or 666 years or something like that. 3 grams can be collected at a time. I can't remember. They all look the same when you're half drunk, right? Oh, yeah, it was... So, I actually got the math here. So it works out to... It worked out to... 299 days, was it? To do it? Hang on. I double-clicked, and you know what that means. I might never find my spot again. Lucky me, I leave a big paper trail wherever I go. So we looked at that, we looked at this. It's got to be around here somewhere. Oh, there it is. So 365 days. So it was 820,000 years, was it? That's what I think it was. Can be 3 grams collected at a time. Thank God for scientists is all I can say. I feel better. I'm sure they'll get this in the next millennium or two. Good God, guys. Like, if you ask kids to build a robot, it wouldn't look as stupid and be as useless as this, in fact. Shortening shifts to reduce workers' exposure to radiation will be necessary. The trial removal is expected to take about 2 weeks. They're hoping to get 10 grams or something, and then it's going to take them a decade to analyze it. And then they're going to need at least another $500 million because of the trauma, right? They've got to take a lot of vacations and stuff, do a lot of bass fishing. Cooling water as well as rainwater that comes in contact with the debris becomes contaminated. Cooling water as well as rainwater, typhoons and snow. And the whole country hemorrhages radiation every time it rains because the whole country is covered in radioactive fallout and everything is radioactive. The leaves, the pollen, the grass. So the cycle is perpetual and it's a nightmare. I'd rather get hit by a meteorite than have Fukushima happen. TEPCO began releasing treated wastewater in August 2023. Treated water. It must be so grand to be these people, eh? So wait, now there's nothing left. It's all gone. And nothing got out until 2023. Oh. That's cool. I'm listening. I'm not sure if I'm following you, but I'm listening. The government said it'll take 30 to 40 years. You can't even decommission a normal reactor in 30 to 40 years. You have 4 reactors have detonated and 8 fuel pools are gone. 2 at the top of each building. And maybe the common spent fuel pool is gone. Maybe reactor 6 is gone. And there's something up in the west corner that we don't know what it is, but it's gone. Oh, to be a fisherman. Let me see what we got here. Cooling water and rainwater comes in contact with the debris, becomes contaminated. These people lied so much. The truth. If someone tell them the truth, they'll have diarrhea right away. The whole system will just collapse. Right? After the Chernobyl nuclear disaster in the former Soviet Union, decommissioning was abandoned. And a shelter structure was built to completely cover the area with radioactive waste. Well, the shelter structure broke down right away from the Wigner effect, from the neutron bombardment. It rained all day in these places when it was raining or snowing. This is also the issue of how to dispose of soil and rubble contaminated by scattered radioactive material. 30 million one-ton bags. I like somebody to go down there and write, like Craig, and go down and write on those bags, all 30 million one-ton bags, Dana is wrong. Nuclear is wonderful. Anything like that, that'd be cool. The government has promised to transport this waste outside of Fukushima Prefecture. This is the strangest statement because they're burying it in pits, right? They're actually cutting the bags open because no one's paying attention and doing what they call experimental farming. And then they're going to sell the product the following year, right? The issue of how to dispose, because they know people can't wrap their mind around it, right? The issue of how to dispose of soil and rubble contaminated by scattered radioactive material. The whole country was buried. It's buried in it. Like 29 million atoms a square meter in Tokyo after a rainfall. It never goes away, that stuff. Canada was hit with 220 million atoms of iodine-129, so was America. We got studies on America of xenon, of cesium-137, of iodine-129, iodine-131, and sulfur peroxide hydrogen buckyballs from the salt water. The worst case scenario was these are super hot particles. krypton. You got studies on, like, documented it's falling out, right? On the Xenon-133. International Atomic Energy, and if you got the 131 and the 129, then you absolutely positively, for every iodine-131, you had 10 times more iodine-132 and 30 times more iodine-133. And they ionize and radiate the thyroid glands of insects and birds and mammals and animals 9 times more efficient than the incredibly effective iodine-131 does. But don't worry, because dead man tells no tales. International Atomic Energy Agency committed to monitoring Fukushima water to the last drop. That was this year, and then for the anniversary, right? And then they ran over to the Japanese government's office in Fukushima Prefecture. They gave them $19.3 million. Japan is the biggest donor to the International Atomic Energy Agency to make sure they're fair and impartial, right? Many of the 42 entities, this is one from 2019. This story is the craziest story imaginable. Many of the 42 entities tossed out the records from 2011. And look at the records. Oh, well, they expired by. Now the museum got 200 and, what is it? 190 or something thousand items, which is only about 10 kilometers away from the ongoing nuclear meltdowns. They didn't have any room for that stuff, right? The records, you know. The municipality Iwate, Miyagi, and Fukushima Prefecture reported throwing out the records. Well, that was it. Not much we could do about it. Time's up. The documents have already been discharged. When did it expire? Well, this morning. Including notification from the central government and list of names of volunteers who worked during the nuclear meltdown. Why would you keep that for? That's just crazy talk. Miyagi Prefecture said the preservation period fucking expired. Lydiate Village in Fukushima Prefecture said we don't got the space. Yeah, but you had a $50 million museum you built in Nami, which was abandoned for 9 years. Still mostly abandoned today. You built a $50 million museum. I can't remember the exact number of items they got. It was 100. It's a ridiculous amount. It was 190,000 or something. But they didn't have room for the records at the museum. You wonder why I'm not crazy yet. Because I'm steady as a rock up here, baby. I am so. Anyway, let's get back to the crazies. Take some pressure off poor Dana. International Atomic Energy Agency committed to monitoring Fukushima water to the last very last drop. He's such a weasel, eh? He's such a degenerate weasel. His parents should apologize. Should nuclear academics' parents apologize for their inbreeds to be being such evil, monstrous degenerates? I think they should. I can't comprehend why Raphael Grossi hates everybody and all the species so much. Come on, Raphael. Don't be a monster. Don't be a... The International Degenerate Agency / IAEA is committed to monitoring Japan's releases of the treated water from the disabled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean till the very last drop. The chief of the United Nations body said on Thursday, Japan started discharging the water in August of 2023 after the amount of radioactive substances in the wastewater was lowered to below the government-mandated levels. And the process of the full discharge is expected to take about 30 years and 3 minutes. These are monsters. Don't believe me? Hang around. No UFOs confirmed so far by Japan's government top spokesperson. It's time for a nuclear power renaissance. On May the 29th, the Biden administration announced new steps to bolster the domestic nuclear industry, such as streamlining licensing processes for building new reactors. This is crazy. They're going to streamline the licensing process. Look, you can give them all the money you want. Dana, we do. You can give them all the rubber stamps you want. Dana, we do, of course, right? Dana, you can give them all the universities at their beck and call. They do. You know, there's not a single university out there got enough time to go work on geothermal. And they can't bring it to fruition. They can't create anything. Because the current generation is just morons. We've been covering it for years and years and years. Incredible educations. Unbelievable. But they would still be in the universities if it wasn't for the International Atomic Energy Agency scooping them up. They're just completely dysfunctional. New steps to, like, we hear this every couple of months. They literally just get dump trucks of cash and give it to them. They still can't create anything. Extending the life, first off, 90% of all the money at nuclear goes to administration, which is these people. It's like going to a salad buffet, all you can eat, except there's nothing there to eat any money. It's all money on the table. Each plate is different denominations, right? And then there's a whole bunch of caterers in the back ready to come out and dump more money on the table if someone sticks it in a bag or in their pockets. Extending the life of existing reactors. I'm not kidding you, that's the animosity equivalent, right? And expanding capacity of existing reactors. They might do that one. Extending the life of existing reactors and expanding the capacity. Because like the older reactors, the problem is they're high pressure, 1,000, 2,000 psi. Another problem they got is when they get around 30 years old, they've been brutalized by neutron bombardment, by beta rays, by gamma shines, etc., right? And so the metal doesn't have any integrity anymore. If you hit it with a sledgehammer, it might just go pop. And when you're talking to something at 1,000 pounds per square inch, or 2,000 pounds per square inch, full of the most nastiest, lethal stuff in humans' existence, it's not a good combination, see? And when you put these particular people in charge of this, the inbreeds of the inbreeds of the inbreeds all these generations later, it's an elixir of stupid. And it's going to go wrong at some point here. Fukushima was one of those points. According to the administration, these actions represent the largest sustained push to accelerate the civil nuclear deployment in the United States in nearly 5 decades. And we see that in different countries, right? All the reactors coming to the end of their lives, and most of them are going to shut down in a couple of years. And all of a sudden they're like, we need a nuclear renaissance. That's all we need. And we've seen so many of these Jan routines over the years. I just don't see it because renewables, and let me explain renewables, because there's a little bit of gleaming hope out there in the cesspool that is nuclear. I think I'm your huckleberry. Hang on here. Yeah, there it is. Wow. It's only been a week, Sometimes you forget shit, Dana. I know, that's what I'm talking about. Nuclear power suffered net loss of 1.7 gigawatt capacity in 2023. This came out January the 1st. No, January 20th, 1st. See, I told you, January 21st. I said that right away, didn't I? Nuclear power suffered a net loss of 1.7 gigawatt capacity in 2023, whereas renewable capacity additions amounted to a record 507 gigawatts. It's equal to over 600 large nuclear reactors. Let's do the math. Why not? We got all the time in the world. What time is it? Oh my God. It's almost midnight. It's 10 minutes to midnight. Okay, here we go. Blah, 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 blah. Where's Dana? I need Dana in this conversation. All right, I'm here. Calm down. So, there's around 414 reactors. And they have 360 gigawatts of 365, they say, don't they? So divided by 365. I get that wrong. I'll try this again. 414 reactors. It's backwards. So 365 divided by 414. Duh, Dana. By 365. Is 0.89 or something per reactor? No. I divided 365 by 365, did I? 365 divided by 412. Yes, well, thank God the show's almost over. That's all I can say. Can't believe I made it this far. It's 0.88. Each reactor is 0.88. All right. Now we're finally getting somewhere. So 507 gigawatts. 507 multiplied by, take 507 gigawatts and divide it by 0.88, right? So clear. So 507 divided by 0.88 0.88 is equal to 576 large nuclear reactors. So 507 gigawatts is equal to almost 600 large nuclear reactors. They were built in 12 months. Nuclear went backwards last year. And this is what I mean, right? Apologize. You weren't seeing double. No. Yes, you were seeing double because it was on the screen. It wasn't because you were seeing doubles. In nearly 5 decades. So, in order for them to accomplish what they're talking about, keeping existing nuclear plants operational, extending the life of the current reactors, a lot of the reactors can't be extended for starters. And if you increase the energy of the reactors, which is how they're keeping their percentage up in reality for the last number of years, because you got reactors going offline every year and none coming online, right? They had 2 come online, and it was 4 times the original budget, 12 or 14 years behind schedule. And it was 4,500 contractors didn't get paid. They might have went out of business. Supporting the demonstration deployment of advanced reactor technology, making permitting processes more efficient and effective, and securing and expanding the nuclear fuel supply. This same garbage can diagnosis every time. Strengthening nuclear safety, security, safeguards. And supporting an ambitious strategy to ensure the nation's nuclear leadership. You got 2 reactors came online in 44 years, and that's the nation's nuclear leadership. This is great news. And this is what I mean. They rate the stupidest. At its peak, the United States had 112. The United States has 54 nuclear plants in operation. However, nearly half of those, 25, are in the process of being decommissioned. Incredible, of the 60 nuclear plants being built around the world, not a single one is under construction in the United States. So coming here and talking about a nuclear renaissance, I guess, they call 1 billion tons of water being released a leak. Why not call it a nuclear renaissance when you had 2 in 42 years reactors come online? It makes sense, actually. There are many reasons beyond the reduction in nuclear power plants over the last few decades. First and foremost, the mainstream media went into fear-mongering mode, regarding nuclear power after the partial nuclear meltdown. It was 2 million people got irradiated. The scientists were poking their studies saying it was like, for 2 million people, it was like watching color television for an extra year. Which, of course, got nothing to do with radioactive fallout. It gets in your body attacks you for the rest of your life with white blood cells, for goodness sakes. What the hell does a color television got to do with that? And now, color televisions back in those days were pretty frightful if you sat right in front of it. But it's not like radiation at all. And the explosion at Chernobyl in 1986. Yeah, they closed 9,400 farms in Ireland and Scotland and the United Kingdom because it's like a banana and a potato chip, right? Sarcasm, not. These concerns were brought back to the forefront in 2011 when the Fukushima nuclear power plant in Japan was hit by a tsunami. Well, they built it right where tsunami's got a 3,000-year legacy. It was built there to be hit by a tsunami, is more like it. And there's all kinds of speculations out there. Who knows for sure what really happened? I don't. I wasn't there. Were you there? I don't know what happened. Who knows what these idiots are capable of? Evil just seems to come so natural to them. Nothing surprises me. Second, building new nuclear plants become way too expensive due to government over-regulations. No, you're trying to preserve human life. This boy, not regulations. There's definitely not too much regulations. They're all surrounded by farms. That should be the first regulation. Get rid of that. Close down every plant surrounded by farms. We don't have to worry about nuclear no more. Commonly take over a decade to build, assuming the construction plant is not simply abandoned. Touche. Now here's the truth about nuclear power. Nuclear power is safe. Like, what are you talking about? Safe for who? There's nothing on the planet that has an autoimmune trigger to defend against nuclear emissions. Nothing. Our body reacts violently to a foreign invader, attacks with white blood cells for the rest of our life and tries to build a sarcophagus around it. We call it a tumor, right? 2 major accidents, Chernobyl and Fukushima. And I hate these canned lies, right? Whoever wrote that story wasn't the author of the story. That was written by the nuclear lobbying group, and the author put their name on it for a kickback. Other than these two incidents, nuclear power has a pristine record, Dana. Except it doesn't. So, like, they're saying all these journalists that are pretending they're in the building is in the building. That's their words. Radioactive cleanup at Idaho nuclear site working. You go read the story, that's the last thing that is happening. Andreva Bay cleanup reaches the landmark. This is where they had nuclear fuel pools abandoned outdoors, splitting atoms into the ecosystem for about 30, 40 years, 50 years, I can't remember. And that the sludge that is there, the fuel was stored by the Soviet Union from submarines, nuclear submarines. And it's a nightmare. And then they took it to the Mayak and reprocessed these concoctions. And the whole thought is just so frightening. I got stories there where Russia said they'll take Fukushima's melted fuel to Mayak and reprocess it. They didn't do it to Chernobyl, but they'll do it to Fukushima, which is bullshit, right? Origin and age of ongoing radioactive contaminations of soil at La Hague, which is France's reprocessing facility, with 500 security guards, because it's like a banana, right? Based on 239, 240 plutonium, 238 plutonium, 241 americium, 241 plutonium current ratios, and 90 strontium in the soil, because they actually contaminated the Arctic, Sellafield and Windscale, which Sellafield and Windscale are the same place, rather, La Hague and Sellafield. Stillbirths among the offsprings of the male radiation workers at Sellafield. Child cancers around nuclear fuel reprocessing plants. There's these cancer clusters in children, and they were trying to blame it on the common flu with these studies. Evil, like evil. You don't know evil until you looked at the nuclear industry. The West Valley was New York. That's basically... I think we're finished. Anyway, let me check the... Oh, it's midnight. It's midnight. I'm going to give it up. I got to turn back into a pumpkin here. The most powerful nuclear detonation ever carried out by the United States, Castle Bravo, which is equal to 1,000 Nagasaki's a plutonium bomb going off at one time. So if America, they attacked Japan with 2 nuclear weapons, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Say if Russia had now stood up for Japan and attacked America with 500 Nagasaki bombs, and America fired back 500 Hiroshima bombs, would that be a nuclear war? Is the radioactive fallout the same as a nuclear war? When you got a bomb that's 1,000 Nagasaki bombs? Of course it is. It's worse than a nuclear bomb because it all happened at the one time. It's a catastrophic amount. And that, I'll end it right there. And that the Soviet Union's biggest bomb was equal to 3,800 Nagasaki bombs going up to one time. And the difference between Nagasaki and plutonium was, or Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Hiroshima was a uranium bomb. I think that's the only uranium bomb we ever set off. Everything else was a plutonium bomb. And that the reactor fuel cycle, right, for nuclear plants is about turning the fuel after 18 months into a breeder, which produces plutonium, splitting atoms perpetually. And so they take this fuel, and now they can make nuclear weapons with it for physically, theoretically forever. Because it's producing, it's still splitting atoms. That's why it makes it dangerous for hundreds of thousands of years. Once you take it out of containment, it's still splitting the same atoms as the boiling water to power 1 million homes and businesses. There you go. Yabba dabba do. Let's go back. I'm not about that picture. James cooked up. That was last night. Was one of those nights where I kind of overindulged in colorful language, we shall say. And so when you look at this picture, man, there's so much detail, it blew me away. But this is the clowns are nuclear scientists, and they're going around humoring and manipulating and scaring the population. And that's what these people, that's what the nuclear industry is. They're real monsters. There's no other way to describe it. And they've spent 80 years manipulating the population. Now, that might not be what James was trying to create, but that's definitely what I read into it. Because that was the mood last night. It was one of those moods where you're looking at this incredible circus. And I don't think anything says it any better. And as one thing to remember now, the RECA, they're going to try to piggy that back in on one of the military bills that are always passed. And I can't remember, the military appropriation bill or something. They usually get like $1 billion or $1 trillion or something. And if they put that bill in with that, it'll pass. Because everything that's in the military bill, the defense bill, we'll call it, will pass. Everything. They won't extract. Its entire legacy is everything goes in there, gets passed. Whatever money they want, if they want $25,000 hammers, they'll get their $25,000 hammers, right? Okay, we're going to come and close the poll in a moment. I'll get some music going, maybe. In a moment. I never stopped today. We had a lot of rain this evening. I was out surveying, but I had to do some running around and pick up. I needed to pick up some metal. I had to pick up some shelves, and pick up, what else did I pick up? Pick up a whole bunch of stuff anyway. I had to take the trailer and put the walls around the trailer, the sides on the trailer. And so I got everything put back together. We're supposed to have, we've been rained on now for like 3 weeks straight. There's a front stuck right over us, they're saying, right? It's insane. It's chemtrailing too, doing it. So, you wouldn't believe how I never got in the house till 6:30, let's put it that way. I haven't stopped all day. I was out surveying again today. I'm looking for ponds a bit closer. And so once the weather breaks, once summer starts, or official spring starts here, we're hoping to be busy. We got quite a few spots picked out. It's all a long distance though, right? I'm sorry, let me turn that down. We got a few places picked out, but they're quite a long ways away. And so, do a few days of surveys. And let's close the poll down, that's what I'm up to. We'll get there. Should nuclear academics, parents, apologize for their inbreeds being such evil, little, despicable, monstrous degenerates? I think that's the least they could do, isn't it? Is it a crime? Is it a crime to be a banana, a potato chip, and walk in the sunshine? Yeah. Good night, everybody. Hugs for everybody. Let me see. James donated. Oh my goodness. Thank you, James. We got renew the site next week. We got to renew the trailers and the trucks and everything. Just the end of this month or something. It's madness. It's a bad time. Every year this is a tough time. The sites, but we've had the site now. This the 20th will be 11 years with the nuclearproctologist.org. And there's a lot of information there. It's all about research expeditions and about Fukushima, because it's such an important topic. And so we're trying to raise the extra money. People want to donate. You find links in the bottom of my description directly to, there's only 2 ways to donate, but you can use just about any card at my site. The links are below for that in the very bottom of the description. And we never had an issue in 11 years. And the same thing, the PayPal is directly to Dana Durnford's PayPal. So there's no way. Because originally there was like 10 Dana Durnfords showed up. Nuclear industry created 9 more Dana Durnford PayPals. And they use my picture and everything to trick people. Yeah, calling it a scumbag industry doesn't quite do it justice, eh? Have a great night. Hugs for everybody. We'll see everybody tomorrow night. Thursday night, last show of the week. As always, a banger. Don't be there. Be square. Take care, folks.